This episode of What the Tech is brought to you by Casper, an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the price, because everyone deserves a great night's sleep. Get $50 off any mattress purchase by visiting casper.com/Andrew and enter promo code Andrew at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
What the tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarin. Of course, I'm joined by Mr. Personality, Paul Thurrott.
How you doing?
You did not crash today.
Not yet. It's early.
Not yet.
Give it time.
You're on a new build, right, of Windows.
That's true. I wonder if for two builds there, Skype was just crashing on this computer and actually on a different computer.
Yeah. Huh.
Yep.
Let's see what happens.
Can't
Let's see
explain
how it goes. I'm hopeful that it will not crash. Everything will be fine. And we do have a lot to talk about today. Shockingly, the thing that I was so interested about, maybe some people would not be interested in. And it's about Paul's photo collection. Okay. And
Why would no one be interested in that?
Actually, almost everybody will probably be interested because all these off topics that we talk about on the show, a lot of times, these are things that everybody's going through. I always feel guilty for really liking an article on Thurrott.com and talking about it because I always feel like I'm doing this, for my own, for my own interest, not for the masses. But I do want to talk about this because I Suncast actually dealt with this a couple of years ago where he had to scan hundreds, if not thousands, of photos and back it up in the cloud. So this is a very interesting conversation to have. Also, Windows Cloud and Windows 10 information. Also, I have all this stuff to talk about, obviously. But before we do, I want to talk about our sponsor, and that's Casper. You can save $50 towards your mattress purchase by going to casper.com/Andrew and entering in the promo code Andrew. I just spoke to Paul right before the show. We were talking about how I have to go and visit him again because I have to do some tweaks to his setup for First Ring Daily. And when I stayed on a Casper bed. And I'm telling you, I sleep on a Casper at home, and I sleep on a Casper, and I knew it was a Casper. The second I went to bed, I knew I was sleeping on a Casper because of how excellent these mattresses are. Casper is an online retailer of premium mattresses that cost a fraction of what those other guys are selling their mattresses at. Casper has revolutionized the mattress industry by cutting the cost of dealing with resellers and showrooms and passing the savings on to the customer. Casper has gotten so popular that now you have all these knockoffs of Casper out there. So be sure when you're buying a Casper, be sure it's a Casper. Casper should be very happy. I sold 3 mattresses for them. I'm like a door-to-door Casper salesman. I had people call me. It's so funny. Jess's friend called her and said, "Hey, what's that mattress Andrew always talks about on the show?" And he goes, "Oh, Casper, use the promo code Andrew at checkout." So she knows how to do these live reads. I absolutely love these mattresses, and normally we don't really talk about products that we don't use. Personally, Paul has a Casper, I have a Casper, and you should have a Casper as well. Save $50 towards your mattress purchase by going to casper.com/Andrew and entering the promo code Andrew at checkout. I absolutely love these guys. Tweet them, let them know that we sent you. Also, you got 100 days, period, to sleep on this thing. Free delivery and painless returns. You got a 100-day period to use this thing. So it's not like you're going to a showroom lying on this thing and then being bamboozled into buying it. That's what happened to me with a really expensive mattress a couple years ago, and I hated every single day of it. 100-day period. So if it doesn't work for you, guess what? You can send it right back. Casper.com/Andrew. Get $50 off when you enter in the promo code. I want to thank Casper for supporting the show. Of course, terms and conditions do apply. Paul, I want to touch on Windows Cloud a little bit because last week's conversation got a lot of buzz, and Brad happened to get his hands on it right after we spoke about it.
Oh, so did I.
You did too. Ooh, I did not know this. Let's talk about this.
Okay.
Tell me, what is it? Let's review this again for people.
It appears to be a version of Windows 10 Pro that cannot run desktop applications. The couple of things I've either figured out or found out since this time is, unfortunately, Centennial apps, meaning desktop bridge apps will not work. And so there's a couple of examples of that. The version of Evernote you can get through the Windows Store is a Centennial app. The version of Adobe Photoshop Elements 15 that you can get through the store is a Centennial app. Those will not run, at least not in this build. If that's the way it's going to be at the final bell or whatever, that's a problem. That's too bad. The other thing is there's some code in there that indicates that my assumption that you will be able to upgrade from Windows 10 Cloud to Pro is true. And that's a big deal because people look at this and kind of cynically will say, well, this is just Windows RT again, to which I would reply, well, we know about two key differences. One is that this runs on Intel. It's not ARM only. It will probably run on Intel and ARM. I think that's the new thing going forward. But there's an upgrade path. It's not what I kind of jokingly refer to as a one-way dead-end street. You know, that if you buy this thing, you're not just screwed. Hopefully there'll be some education around what it is and people don't get it by mistake, but there will be a way to upgrade at least to Windows 10 Pro. And you can do that now. For example, if you buy a computer with Windows 10 Home and you want to get Pro, right in the product, there's a way to do that. I think it's $50 or $100. I don't remember. So that will be true of Cloud as well.
So here are my questions now. From last week to this week, have we learned what the purpose of this version of Windows is and what kind of devices they're intending on? We know that it's Intel based, obviously, and it's going to be on ARM, but what devices can we see this on?
There's no indication of that. I will say that it being based on Windows 10 Pro is the source of my contention that this is not a Chromebook, type thing. It's aimed at all computers. You don't run Windows 10 Pro on a Chromebook type computer, right? It's not a $200 computer. I think this is going to be something that runs across all kinds of computers, from premium computers all the way down to Chromebook killers or whatever. But no, there's been no new information to that regard.
Obviously, since we know that you could do the upgrade, we kind of have an idea where it's not going to be only available on, the system on a chip machines that only have 32 gigs of storage. How big is this version of Windows?
Like 100 pounds? What do you mean?
How much does this guy weigh?
How much does it weigh? Well, actually, once I installed it on the computer, it went up by about, no, I'm sorry. How big is it, like on disk?
Yeah.
It's the same size as Windows 10 Pro.
Oh, same size as, okay, so it's not even that, it's a smaller, lighter version.
No, it's not. And that's, I believe very strongly that it's easy to look at this and think, oh, this is a Chromebook killer, or meant to be. I really don't think that's the point. I think it's much bigger than that. And I don't mean bigger size-wise. I mean, it's a bigger story than that.
Yeah. So if you were to take a guess right now, what would be the key device that we start seeing, let's say when this thing ships out in the fall, let's say fall.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think that's the way to think of it. I think it's going to be available on a variety of device types. It will literally be from the $250 whatever computers all the way up to $1,500 whatever. It's not about the device type. What it really is about is an audience that I think Microsoft believes exists because they have all this telemetry data. They know what people are doing on their PCs. And I assume what they've seen is a sizable enough audience of people who spend most of their time on the web and run occasional apps like Office, which is available in this environment, and that this thing will meet that need while being more reliable, offering better performance, having better battery life, because it's not held back by that legacy desktop past, which is the source of everything great about Windows, yes, but also the source of everything that's wrong with Windows. So we'll see. I mean, that's a big bet, and it has not panned out in the past. And it's very fair to say that the Windows Store and its app collection is fairly lackluster. And how do you fix that? I don't know, but I could picture there being, obviously, it's the type of thing you might want to give to a kid or a grandmother, and that's, I think, where the source of the Chromebook stuff comes from. But I also think there were professionals who just don't want a cluttered experience and want things to just work.
I still stand by that this is going to be the free version of Windows. This is a free version. It will be for upgrades. So if you want Windows 10 on your Windows 7 machine, here it is. And guess what? If you decide that you need those apps, you need to run your legacy applications, you could always upgrade to the Pro version.
Here's why I don't think that's what it is.
Okay, tell me.
If you have a Windows 7 computer or a Windows 8 whatever computer, and you upgrade to this, nothing's going to work. all of everything that you ran on that computer is a desktop application. That's the only thing that was on that computer. That's not an upgrade. That's a, you're wiping that thing out and starting over from scratch, and nothing you had before is coming forward. That is the
Yeah, that
opposite
wouldn't
of
work.
the experience that Microsoft wants. I think what you just described, though, is the reason why Windows 10 Home continues, because some vast majority of consumer PCs out in the world that are running a version of Windows earlier than Windows 10 are probably on a home level version like Windows 7 Home Basic, Windows 7 Home Premium, whatever it might be. When those things upgrade, if they ever do now, they will be upgraded to home. That's the version they go to.
Yeah.
So that stays. Maybe that changes in the future. We'll see. But cloud has got to be only for new computers because there's no upgrade path to it.
Yeah. I'm still trying to, as a
Yep.
PR,
I know.
as far as PR goes, right? This is,
Mm-hmm.
they may encounter the same exact disaster that they had with Windows RT, where you take this thing home, and Windows RT at least wasn't on a laptop. It wasn't on a desktop. Imagine
Well,
you buy your kid a new computer and now they can't install this stuff, and they're saying, "What the hell?"
But that's why that ability to upgrade is so important, right? So we don't know how the pricing is going to work. You could almost imagine. What if it was free for one thing? I mean, that would be fairly amazing, right? It's just the same price as Pro, and if you want to go to Real Pro, you can unlock that, and it's free. That would be amazing. It's probably not going to be free, right? So, this is off the top of my head. I should look this up by now.
See,
But I believe,
I think it will be free, but I don't know anything, so I would tell them out of my butt.
It's going to be a tough thing if some human being buys a computer from Lenovo or whoever, HP, Dell, it doesn't matter, gets it home, and it's that RT thing all over again.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? I'm looking at this thing is called Windows, and I can't install Chrome. I can't install iTunes. What is this?
Yeah. Consumer doesn't know what cloud means. They don't know.
Exactly. And I don't know how Microsoft or its PC maker partners are going to try to educate users to that issue, because there's going to be, like you said, a PR or a marketing disaster that might occur when that happens, when people bring the thing home and it doesn't work.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And again, we may not know. Maybe what if this is only available on tablets? That's it. That's another option. This could be the tablet version. And if you really want desktop apps, obviously you're not going to get the best experience with your old applications on a tablet. But if
You know what, though? The pedigree here suggests otherwise, right? In other words, if this was just going to be on tablets, if this was just for Chromebook kind of computers, it would just be Windows 10 Home without the ability to run desktop apps.
mm-hmm.
The features that are in Windows 10 Pro that differentiate it from Windows 10 Home are all about business. And that is, I think, the important distinction, is the reason it's not just for Chromebooks or Chromebook type computers,
Very interesting. I'm curious to see what happens with this, because this is a big story. I mean, it's pretty much a separate, it's a different version of Windows altogether.
And we have 10, 15 questions that we just don't have answers to. And someday Microsoft will say, hey, we're doing this thing and it's called this, and this is what it's for. And we can check off the boxes and see how we did.
Have they said anything right now? I mean, has there been any kind of feedback over the last week? I mean, the fact that you got your hands on it says something, right? It's out there. But
it's leaked. Yeah. I mean, there have been little, rumors about it. People have seen references to it in files and so forth. Now that we've gotten to take a look at it, we can be a little more definitive, but we don't have any idea of what the intent is for marketing and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have to see.
Very interesting. I'm curious to see what happens with this and the direction, because again, this is Microsoft taking a risk, right? There obviously is a market for this.
Yep.
Definitely is. If you're competing with Chromebooks, obviously there's a market. But if you are now going to walk into a Best Buy and they're going to have a laptop there for $200 and you're going to buy it and take it home and you can't install your applications because it's Windows Cloud, that's a real bad. The consumer is not going to say, well, you know what? Yeah, I screwed up. It's Windows Cloud. They're going to say Windows 10 sucks. This doesn't work.
Yeah, it's a problem. There's no doubt about it. Yep.
Very interesting. There was some other Windows news too, right? Which I just closed out the notes, so I can't even look at it. On the notes, Windows 10, the way that you Install.
Sorry, I could actually just look at this
If you
if
could
you
just
want.
look at the notes, because I just clicked that.
Could I help give you a hand, perhaps? Yeah. So Microsoft a few weeks back started talking about how they're going to improve the setup experience in Windows 10, and the Windows 10 setup is basically something that's broken down into three parts. If you buy a new computer, the only part you see is the third part that's called the out-of-box experience. The PC Maker has basically run setup for you to a certain point. So when you turn it on, you finish setup. And the way you finish setup is by saying, here's my name, my Microsoft account, here are the privacy settings I want, blah, blah, blah. The changes they made are primarily to that third part, the out-of-box experience. And there's a couple of key themes, but the two big ones are they're trying to make it more accessible, which, on the surface is something that's hard to complain about, but the way they've implemented it, I find to be very annoying and jarring, and I don't quite understand what the need is here. But the second improvement is with regards to privacy. So if you've ever set up Windows 10 before, as part of setup, you reach this screen where it says you can have an express setup or not an express setup.
Yeah.
And if you choose express setup, it does all these defaults, which, in the book I've written, I explain what those are. I don't think choosing express setup is a bad idea. It's what I do. There's no problems. But Microsoft has come under a lot of criticism for what are perceived but not real privacy issues, and to the point where some governments, including the EU and I think South Korea, have asked it to make some changes. And so what they've done is they've gotten rid of express setup.
Interesting.
Except that they're actually doing express setup under the covers with one exception. They're giving you a screen that says, here are the privacy features you can configure right now up front. And I'm okay with this, right? It's fine. I actually think there's a process you can do. Like if you've ever done anything like set up like an iPhone or a Mac or an Android phone or whatever, that the first time you turn it on, you connect to your wireless network maybe, or you fill in your account details. You do all these things. There's these steps. And if you're familiar with iOS, it's actually bewildering how many steps there are now. There's like
tremendous.
25 steps.
Yeah.
It's kind of unbelievable.
You got like the passcode lock, you got the fingerprint, and then you got.
Do you want location services on? Do you want to use iCloud for this? Do you want to do that? I mean, it goes on and on and on. Now, the reason it's like that is because in Apple's case, they're kind of hanging their hat on the fact that they respect user choice and privacy and all that stuff, and they want to make all those choices explicit. But there's an argument to be made that, on the one end, there's like super fast and easy, but it may do defaults you don't want. And then there's super slow and difficult, but at least it gives you the chance to kind of in a granular way say, this is exactly what I want. Microsoft has been pushing and pushing toward the simple, easy, fast route. And this is them kind of scaling back a bit. I actually think they could scale it back even further because there are some things that I actually think are really important to configure right up front on a Windows 10 computer that are not in setup. And if you don't know to do them, your computer may be, misconfigured for a while or whatever, or just not configured the way you want. Anyway, so I think I'm okay with the privacy stuff. The accessibility stuff, it's like I feel like I should be happy about this, but it's so annoying and terrible. I just don't understand why it's on by default. And so the first time I experienced it, I was doing something on another computer, and it was a Surface Book sitting here installing Windows, and you're not really looking at it, but it's right next to you. And if, again, anyone who's installed Windows 10 before knows, the first time it comes up from setup, the volume is set at like 87% or something, or some really loud value. And I have no idea why. And so whatever sounds it makes are really loud. So like a notification bing will be like, bong, it's like really loud. You're like, oh, what the fuck? What was that? But because it speaks setup, I don't have it in front of me what exactly it says, but it literally like Cortana comes on and she's really loud. And she's like, welcome to Windows 10 setup. I'm here to make your setup easier. If you don't want to listen to me making it easier, please be sure to, and it's like, it's really loud. And it's like, guys, what is this thing? And so I obviously you want to respect people who need this accessibility technology, but you also should acknowledge that the percentage of people who have that kind of an issue and want to install Windows 10 are probably pretty small. And this only happens sometimes. And what it reminds me of is when you call your bank. And the first thing it says is, if you would like to listen to this recording in Spanish, please plus one or whatever, right? It's the first thing it says.
Yeah.
But it starts off in English. And I think that makes sense because most of the people calling are speaking English.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like this stuff should be like that. Like if you need the accessibility improvements, you should be given that option up front to turn them on.
Up front,
and
yeah.
that should be the end of it. But the message that this thing reads is incredibly long. It goes on and on and on. And it's blurted out so loud. I just find it to be a little much. So anyway, they're testing it, right? So feedback like that, what I provided when I wrote it up or what I said here, or that people, bring to the feedback hub in the product, hopefully will inspire Microsoft to kind of scale it back a little bit,
Yeah, excellent. I wanted to touch on that because I thought it was interesting that they're changing it, and they're kind of adapting to what the EU has said and what other people have said, where, hey, listen, it's a little, your recommended settings, your express settings may not be the best thing, because I actually don't do the express settings. I always go and I do it manually, and I turn off the privacy things, send feedback to Microsoft, turn the location services, turn this on, turn that off. I always turn all that stuff off.
Yeah.
Because I'm a lunatic and I don't,
Sure. No, that's fine. For people, I would say for people like that, the truth is the 6 settings that they give you, I think it's 6, are probably not going to be enough. And so the advice in Windows 10 before was, once you've installed Windows 10, go into settings, and here's where you can find all the settings you can turn off. And so the advice for Windows 10 today, coming soon with the Creators Update, is basically going to be the same thing. Yeah, you're able to make a couple of choices with regards to privacy, but if you really care about that stuff and you're, would you call yourself a lunatic, and you want to, you're freaking out about those settings, you're still going to want to go into settings and turn a couple more things off, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. So I think they've done this to meet the needs of whatever regulatory bodies that have complained, and that's cool. But at the end of the day, I don't think it changes much, But it didn't really need to change much.
So, Paul, you posted on Thurrott.com, and I was very interested to see to hear what you thought of this. You did a first impression of the performance base for the Surface Book.
Yep.
I'm very excited. Finally, I see this. Can you give us a little bit of information? Because I know a lot of people are very interested to see at how much performance you're getting out of this performance base.
Yeah, I don't have like a benchmark yet to kind of show you, but that'll be in the review. I mean, day to day, it's not much of a change. It's definitely heavier, right? Because there's more battery in there primarily, and then there's more hardware in there to meet the cooling needs of the new GPU. And so, basically, previous to these models, Microsoft offered 2 kinds of Surface Book. There was a Surface Book with integrated graphics only, where everything was in the kind of the top screen part of it, the clipboard. And then they had these DGPU models. And the DGPU at the time was really kind of out of date. They never really said what it was, but it was like 1 gigabyte of dedicated RAM, and it didn't really impact things too much. And so you could run games on this thing, but you really had to scale down the graphics. It was pretty terrible. So a lot of people complained that, this is like a really high-end computer. It seems like maybe there should be a GPU option that actually makes sense, for games and for other high-end applications, none of which I can think of off the top of my head. Like, I don't know that, if you were doing huge Excel spreadsheets with lots of data mining or some kind of CAD CAM work or whatever engineering application may be, but I just can't even conceive of what these things are. But games are kind of an easy one because we all understand games, and we know that if you have the better processor, graphics, RAM, whatever resources you have, the better looking the game can be because you can turn on all these graphical features. And so this thing, again, it's off the top of my head, but I think I want to say it's basically 2 times the performance. It's 2 times the dedicated graphics RAM of the original GPU model.
These are custom NVIDIAs, right? They're not.
They were. The first one was. Yeah, this one. Yeah, it's a pretty standard part. And if you're into, if you are into gaming laptops and so forth, that there are machines that have even more powerful graphics than this. But this is it's not a gaming machine, right? But it is a business class laptop that now has good enough graphics to do some form of gaming. And actually, I've loaded this thing up with a number of modern video games, and it does a great job, actually.
What
Um,
what
I'm
is
playing those games.
the new one compared to? Which chipset is it? The 965M?
Geez, I'd have to look it up.
I think
It doesn't equate to anything. It literally is something. So in other
something.
words,
Oh,
it's
it is
not a,
literally something.
yeah,
Okay.
it's not like before we would look at the benchmarks and say, okay, this thing is basically whatever.
Okay.
This one is,
Oh, maybe it
let's
is
look
a
real quick.
965M then, because I remember reading
Yeah,
that.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
it is
So
965M. That's
okay,
right.
so the pricing wise, I'm looking at the price. So 256 Intel Core i7 8 gigs with DGPU was $2099. The new one is $300 more.
Yeah, and depending on which one you get, I think sometimes it could be as little as $200 more, depending on the model. Because
Depending on
if you look through the price list, you'll see the differences. Honestly, if you have any designs at all of playing a game on this thing, it is well worth the money. It is a significant difference, and it's everything from frame rate, which is obviously hugely important in games, but just like the like graphical quality. One of the things I will demonstrate when I write my review is like the opening menu screens on a game like Gears of War 4 on on the original dedicated graphics hardware version. It's like it's there's a lot of clipping. The quality of the graphics is very low, and on the new version, it looks just like the Xbox One. It's really nice.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
I was just curious to see this. When do you think you're going to post like a full on review of this? I'm curious
Yeah,
to
it's
see
gonna
what the
be.
benchmarks would actually break it down to.
Yep. So originally, I was planning on bringing this thing to Africa, and of course, we didn't go. And one of the other neat things about this is it provides, I can't remember if it's 25 or 33% more battery life than a predecessor because they put a bunch of extra battery in it. I was really hoping to test that on the flights, and of course, we never went, so I haven't had that. So I don't have a trip planned anytime soon, so I might have to just do artificial battery life testing. But I'll do the the benchmark stuff soon, and it'll probably be a week, maybe 10 days,
Oh, cool.
something like that.
Very cool. Guys, if you're watching this live, we have a lot to talk about. Obviously, if you listen to the podcast, we have a lot to talk about. But if you enjoy the show and you want more Paul and Andrew, guess what? You could get more Paul and Andrew by signing up for our Patreon page, patreon.com/whatthetech. You could sign up there, fund us as little as $1, and you get access to all this bonus content that we do. Each and every week after the show, Paul and I do a bonus show called What the Talk, where we talk for a couple minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, depending on the topic. And it's a bonus show. So we give you the bonus show, and you're also supporting this, obviously. And it keeps us going, and it keeps us doing what we're doing. Patreon.com/whatthetech. Go sign up as little as $1 per episode. You can fund us. And the video doesn't want to switch now. It wants to stay there. There we go. There you go. Thank you. So you have a very interesting article. And when I saw it immediately, my eye caught the entire story, because this is something that I'm in the process of starting to do. And
Yep.
many people out there are slowly starting to scan their old photos into digital form and then backing them up on the cloud. And there are many ways how to do this. I mean, a ton of ways to do this. And Suncast recently did this about a year and a half ago. He went through thousands and thousands of photos of his family members. He was doing it for himself and for his parents. Yep. And it was not the easiest ways of doing it, because there are different options here, right? There is the option of where do you store it? Do you store locally? Do you put it on the cloud? Are you going to edit these photos once you scan them? You might want to edit them, might as well. So what are you doing exactly? Because I'm looking at these pictures here at therot.com, and you have a lot of boxes of photos. I mean, a tremendous amount.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And I have a closet full more at my mother's house for my family's photos.
Okay, before you explain this, are you getting obsessive like your MP3 collection with dating and tagging?
No. So no, you know what it is? This is a hard task, right? It's a time-consuming, monotonous task, and and that assumes, right, that your photos are organized, right? And in my case, I would say probably in my house, just the ones in my house, not including my parents' photos, 2/3 to 3/4 of the photos I have in paper form are actually pretty well organized in the sense that they're in albums, right? But I have boxes and boxes and boxes of photos that are just in like those envelopes you got from the photo place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so we've been going through these, and it's really interesting because, first of all, because these things were never put in an album, and were then later never scanned and made available digitally, they're like brand new to us. And it's like, oh, look at these new pictures of our kids when they were babies that we probably did see one time, but we literally do not remember. And
Sorry, Paul. I'm getting an Amber Alert right now on my phone.
Okay.
I have to turn. Sorry. Thank God I had this on silent. Would have jumped out of my seat. Sorry.
So let's see. So just first of all, opening the things up, what I see is, in my case, photos, a lot of photos from like, there was a period of time, like we moved to Phoenix in the early 90s, and then my son Mark was born in 1998. And so that 5-6 year period before that, we have photos, but they're not like out there in the world, so they're not organized. And so it's like there's like a big chunk of our life that just never got organized. And so that stuff's actually kind of fascinating because like the years we were in Phoenix primarily are like a giant black hole in our memory.
Yeah, wow.
And so we kind of go through them, and it's like, oh yeah, look at this. Remember we did? Oh yeah, yeah. You know, and you kind of do that. So that's kind of cool. But you want to organize those things, right? And so if you think about like, I don't know, you take a photo album. It hopefully there's some writing in it that tells you when the stuff is. You have a rough idea when that stuff is. You can scan that stuff in, throw the photos out, or save them, your choice, whatever. It's pretty straightforward. I have my own organizational scheme around how I date things, and I organize them locally. But like you said, you know, the goal today is to get these things up into the cloud. But the the more general goal, I think I just got the same Amber Alert.
Did you?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Sorry, it was weird. It made a weird sound though. It was just a text message. So the goal with backing up anything kind of remains the same. And the goal with backing up photos is especially important because they're personal memories, right? So you want these things to be in different places geographically. They need to be in different services, right? So if something shuts down or there's a problem or your account gets deleted, whatever, you don't have like one copy somewhere. And so for photos, what I do is I have one master copy here at home in my NAS. I have one copy up in OneDrive, and I have one copy up in Google Photos. I mean, you can choose whatever services you want.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But as long as they're in different places, Amazon might be a good place, you know, whatever. The way that you scan in a photo, the way that you name a photo, the way that you put photos in folders, if that's what you do, the way that you upload them to the web is all pretty standard. I mean, you can do that however you want, but it's not like complicated. I don't have to explain that to people. But the thing that's changed, and this is actually a fairly profound change, is that if we were talking about this 10 years ago, we would have been organizing the photos with some application on Windows or the Mac. We would have been tagging those photos. We would have been saying, this picture has Paul in it. This picture has Andrew in it.
Yeah.
This picture was taken in Paris. This picture, is family, or, you have all these little whatever tag ideas. And the problem with that kind of tagging is, there's a lot of problems, but the big one is it's not usually compatible across to different solutions, even though it should be. And so my only goal, and I'm trying to be as intense about this as I can, but I think this one is important, is I want the dates to be roughly as right as they can be. In other words, I have some pictures from Arizona that were clearly taken in July 1993. I know that because of whatever, right, where we are and who's with us and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know the exact date and time, right? That doesn't matter. July 1, 1993 is enough. July 15, 1993 is enough. It doesn't have to be exact.
It doesn't have to be exact, yeah.
As long as it's in a format that is persistent across all of the places where this thing is going to be. In other words, that date, which is like the date taken tag or whatever, has to work everywhere, right? So you need to use an application that's going to tag these things correctly. That's the one thing I really care about. Because the thing is, the way that modern cloud services work now is they're doing all this machine intelligence up on the back end. I don't have to tag something with Paris. That thing knows this is Paris, right? I mean, in many ways, just having the date is what's important. Like if I want to see photos from the years we were in Phoenix, or the summer of 1993, or even a particular date. Like, show me all the photos from January 1, regardless of date.
Yeah.
That stuff is very easy to find with search now.
So,
and that's a big change.
What kind of hardware are you using to scan right now? I'm curious.
So
about
I just
that.
it's just a Canon scanner. It's I bought this last year because I did a ton of the scanning last year. And, as with anything monotonous like this, what happened last year was a lot of my photo stuff wasn't as organized down in the cellar. So we had built that studio right for the other podcast, and it displaced a bunch of clutter, basically. So it forced me primarily, but me and my wife, to go down there and clean up and organize things better. And so what we found was these boxes of, we knew we had some, but they were literally at least 3 giant boxes full of loose photos. And it's like, okay, we really got to go through this. And so last year I had done just photos from photo albums. I didn't do all of them, but I did a ton of them, and I did some of my parents as well. And the reason this stops is it's terrible work. It's hard to do, but you always run into that thing where you're like I remember I'd done a bunch for my parents, and I thought I was done. And so I brought them back to my mother's house, and and she said, "Oh, do you mind just putting those in the closet?" So I opened the closet, and there's a library of photo albums, and I'm like, "What the hell is all this?" And she's like, "Oh, those are the other photo albums." I'm like,
"Oh my God,
Mom, this is like 10 times as much as what I've done already. I thought I was done or almost done, And that kind of thing can be very deflating.
So are you doing one by one? I mean, you're literally just putting in one.
Yeah. So, right. I'm using a flatbed scanner.
Okay.
You can, however many photos you can fit on there.
How many? Like in side by side, and then you're cropping.
Yeah, in whatever form, it doesn't matter, because what the software for this particular scanner will actually crop them correctly, right?
Yeah.
And then it gives them automatic names. I'll go back and rename them. And so the trick is, I've got all these photos that are loose. I've got all these photos in albums. I don't know what all of them are exactly, so I'm kind of triaging them as I go. I send them out to people via email who are in them and say, "Hey, remember this? Do you remember when it was, where we were, whatever?" I'm just trying to organize it. But once I can get the date on there, even if it's a rough date,
yeah,
I'll put it up in the cloud, and it will be considered done. But I have this. I mean, I could look at it like the folder I have. A lot of the dates from last year. Yeah, I have 36 gigabytes of unsorted photos. Wow. 36.
So,
PhotoScans is 20 gigabytes.
So one of my friends recently did this, not Suncast, but another friend did this, and they actually spent the money because he did it for his mom, for his mother and his grandmother. So you're talking photos, galore. I mean, hundreds of these albums. So he was trying to do what he started doing. He bought a scanner for like $100, and he's manually, feeding it in. And he lost his mind. He's like, "This is the most insane thing ever." He went and bought one of these Epsons. I think it's Epson or Brother. Yep. Let's say it's Epson. He bought this very expensive Epson scanner, and it does multiple photos. Let's say it does like 50 photos at a time. And it scans them, and he showed it to me. The thing is going woof, 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 and just scanning them ton of them. And it automatically archives them. And the way that he did it was he uploaded all of them. He didn't really sort through categories. He just did albums. So he said album 1. And he scanned through all of them. And because Google Photos has gotten so smart, it kind of started identifying faces instead of identifying areas.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And it automatically sorted. It's
Google
not perfect.
stuff is amazing.
It's not perfect, but you know what? It's really good.
I consider the Google one to be the best service right now for that kind of stuff. It's amazing. Yes, exactly. And it creates albums and all. And OneDrive does too, by the way. I mean, OneDrive isn't terrible, but yeah, I mean, I'm going to go through and tag all this stuff. I'm going to organize it. I'm going to make sure it's in 3 different places. I'm going to make it available to other people, my family, obviously. It's just a daunting task. I mean, and for some people, it may be something that you just never do. Some people, it may be simply worth going through your collection and saying, I'm going to make a photo collection of our favorite photos, right? And you might pick out 2 or 3 from each album and just, those are the ones you really want to save and have them be digital, whatever. However you do it, it's up to you. I mean, my goal is to digitize this entire thing. Oh, I should say too, by the way, you could choose to digitize with the negatives, right? Which would result in a higher quality scan, but I would also require more work for editing and all that stuff. I honestly, a photo from 1986 scanned off of a 4:6 photo or a 5 by whatever photo, 5:7 photo at 600 DPI is fine. And honestly, I think
Do
is
you have the
representative.
negatives? Do you have any of the negatives?
Yeah, in many cases I do. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That
And
would
I've
be
done that
even
in the
better.
past. It would be, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So honestly, I mean, I've done so many of these, and I look at I'm looking at them now as we do this. I mean, the quality of these pictures is great. You know, I'm happy to have them, and whatever. And so, you know, I it's gonna, you know, it's a lot of work to come, but
Absolutely.
But for me, it's worth doing. And what I want to do is I'm throwing this all out. Like I'm not keeping the paper.
You're not keeping the paper. You're going to get rid of the paper.
I'm getting rid of everything.
Ooh, that's scary, no? Isn't that a little scary?
Well, I know it is, but I know it is, but what are you? No, I mean, I just, that's how I want it.
DVDs out.
Yeah. Well, same thing, you know? Yeah. And by the way, this DVD, you know, music kind of falls into this category. DVDs do as well. In fact, I don't do a lot with physical media, but a friend of mine gave me like a Mystery Science Theater DVD set recently, and you know, the first thing I did was rip it to digital files. It was purchased legally. I'm not going to give it away to anyone else or anything like that. I mean, it's mine, but that's how I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not popping a disc in some player somewhere to watch a movie.
Yeah, sure.
You know, that's not how I do things. Sorry. So.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, it's an interesting conversation, and I'm actually astonished how expensive some of these scanners are.
Yep.
I'm looking at one right now. Epson Photo, Fast Photo. It's $600.
Yeah, I mean seriously, the scanner I bought was probably $125 or less, and I will probably kill it doing all these scans, and I don't care. That's fine. I'll buy another one if I have to, but I'm going to get through this thing, and I'm going to, you know, I've replicated while the thing is not up in the cloud. Well, I should say, actually, to be honest, I actually back this thing up to the cloud regardless, even though it's not properly tagged, because I'm worried about, you know, if there's a fire and I've thrown away the originals and I've lost everything. But I replicate this across multiple drives, even within the house. You know, if I blow, you know, there's a copy on this PC, but if this PC goes south, there's a copy on my NAS, and you know, you try to be careful with it because it's photos, but ultimately, I want everything properly tagged and in the proper places, and then you know, I'll be done with it.
So, just a little thing to touch on this. I remember Google had an application for this exact purpose for Android. I don't know if it's on iOS, but what you would do, you would actually snap a photo of the photo, and then it would do all this color correction and all this straightening and all that stuff. So, if you don't want to invest in a scanner,
it's a little So
it's not great, but
it's one photo at a time. That's the problem. So I think look, your needs are going to be different from mine, and you have different numbers of photos. You care more or less about them. You know, there's all kinds of things you can do. You can take a box of photos, send them in the mail to some service, and they will scan them for you. You know, but I you know, to me it's like an archaeological dig. There's a lot of there's like this information associated with, you know, like I said, like I can't grab them from here, but the little photo envelopes you get. And my wife wrote our name and address on the outside so we could come and pick it up and get it. And there's a date on there. And so I know when the photos were developed. And so I may not, you know, and using that, I know I can look at the photos and say, okay, this happened roughly whenever. I mean, it's a little bit like, you know, you're digging up your past. I mean,
it's amazing.
Literally,
memories that you might have blocked out.
Yep.
Like my family trips to Florida.
Yeah.
Blocked all that out. The early 90s are totally erased from my memory. All those trips are gone for many, many reasons.
Well, if they're in photo form, they can come back.
They could come. I don't want them to come back.
I found a savings bond in here, and I did scan it. Of course, I'm going to keep this one because it's worth money, but it's literally from November 14th, 1966.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so funny that you say this. Because
it's like a savings bond.
You want to hear something really funny? Look what I have here.
Yeah.
I just found this. I just found this today. That's really funny that you say this. For $50.
Check out what this one looks like.
Wow.
It's like this. Yeah.
I wouldn't hold that up. Is there information on there?
Yeah,
Might have
probably.
to delete it. Okay.
No, no,
I
it's
covered
it's
mine.
all it's old. It doesn't.
Yeah, this one has stuff on it, so I'm gonna
Remember,
cover
my
it.
name
But
was different. I've changed my name. This actually has my old name on it.
mine too. Look at that. We're like twins. Mine is the same thing too. Guys, go to our website, gfknetwork.com. We do have a lot to talk about still. We are going to do our Patreon show now. Patreon.com/whatthetech is where you could access this for as little as $1 per week. You get access to all this great content. Paul, I am planning on giving away something to the
Hmm.
Patreon people. I'm planning on doing a contest where we give something away to Patreon. Do you have anything to give to them? Do you have anything left that we can maybe give to the Patreon people?
Like what?
I don't know. I know you
What do you-
doing. I know you did the giveaways for the phones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if you have anything laying around,
I don't understand what you're asking me. What am I giving to Patreon? Or why am I giving something to
to the
Patreon?
to the subscribers, to the people that
Oh,
are
through
yeah,
Patreon.
we run like a contest for them.
Oh.
Maybe we could do something for them.
Hmm.
I have
Okay.
a
Let me
bunch of
think
stuff
about
here.
that. Yeah. I mean, you should have asked me this about 2 months ago.
I know, I know,
But
I know.
I do have a number of items left, but I've already explained to people what they are, so I don't know that I cannot give them away the way I was going to. I have a bunch of old photos that I'm scanning, and you can have. No, I don't know. Well, we can talk about this, but I'm not really sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, yeah. We'll figure it out. So maybe I'm thinking about doing a giveaway.
Mhm.
Guys, go to our website, gfknetwork.com. Subscribe where everywhere podcasts are available. Of course, go to Thurrott.com. Sign up for Thurrott Premium. Get all these amazing articles and podcasts that Paul's doing. Paul and Brad do an amazing job on First Ring Daily. They record every single day, post it every single day, and then they have the Friday show, which is live and free for everybody. That's also on YouTube, guys. I gotta let you guys know. You can find it on YouTube as well. Guys, that's it for this week. We will see you all next time. Take care.